Hello everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at CBSI Hot Top 10 from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the Hot Top 10 from March 1st, 2019, and I'm recording this on August 29th, 2019. As always, the date is just so you guys know when this was most relevant, because news could drop tomorrow that would change all of this. And as always, this list is really just about trying to see what we can learn from the books that were hot 6 months ago, what they've done since, so we can all make a little bit smarter decisions about chasing hot books and that, and maybe avoid some of that fear of missing out, the FOMO a little bit, going forward. So, without further ado, let's get into this week's list and see what we can learn about the books that were hot at the beginning of March of 2019. First up, at number 10 is Hellboy, Seed of Destruction, number 1, the Comics Pro variant. And I guess this was kind of a rare variant reprint, based on what CBSI was saying. And right off the bat, it was a $30 to $35 book. Or, well, I don't know about right off the bat. It was a $30 to $35 book back in March. And really just based on a cool cover. Now this is a $10 to $20 book. Although most people are still asking in that $20 to $30 range. It really is only, not a lot of sales, but a few, and they've all been more in the $10 to $15 to occasionally like an $18 for this book. So I could only find one slab sale, and there were no slabs listed, and it was a 9.6, but it was also signed. So the $170 for that 9.6 you have to take with a grain of salt because it was also signed. But there were no slabs listed and no other slab sales that I could find of this particular book. So this was a hot cover that is, basically cut in half from what it was 6 months ago in terms of price and value. Not that unusual for hot covers. It's not many of them really truly sustain the kind of value they have when they peak. And this one is no exception to that rule. Up next is kind of another hot cover. This is Steven Universe number 25, the Bartel variant. Again, low print book, hot cover. And this one was right out of the gate at $10 to $15. Now it's basically a cover or less plus shipping. There were several sales for like $1 plus shipping. And I couldn't find any slab sales of this particular book. So even the Steven Universe fans have kind of cooled on this particular one. It has pretty much fallen off. So that was Steven Universe number 25. The Bartel variant. Cool cover, but not one that's managed to sustain any value. And at number 8, hang on one second. In case you guys didn't know what was coming. Avengers 684, the first appearance of the Immortal Hulk, makes the list for the second straight week. Immortal Hulk makes the list for the 6th straight week. Back then, it was going for, raw prices were up to $40, which was up from the $20 to $30 range from last week. And 9.8s were hitting $300. Now, raw copies of this book are still in the $30 to $50 range. They're still right around that $40, but 9.8 can be had for $75 to $110. So pay $40 for the raw, send it off, get it graded, get it back, or just pay $75 for 9.8. A little disconnect, I think, right there in terms of the pricing. But that is what the book is doing at the moment. So the raw value has basically stayed the same from when it hit the list there at the beginning of March. But the 9.8 value is now a third of what it was back in March. So still a fairly hot book. The Immortal Hulk train has been continuing to chug on. This is the 6th week in a row that Immortal Hulk related books made the list. It will not be the last. So always be prepared to, have your beverage ready because we're going to be mentioning the Immortal Hulk a bunch. Next up at number 7 is Flash Rebirth number 1. And this is the first appearance of Godspeed. And basically, it was rumored that this villain might make an appearance in the Flash TV show. I've stopped watching the Flash TV show, so I don't know if he did or not. But back then, Raw books jumped from basically cover price to $10 to $15, and 9.8 were up to $85. Now, Raw books are back down to basically cover price, and that's what people are asking. And 9.8 still going for the $80 range, or that's at least what people are asking. But $80 for any kind of comic, for a 9.8 of any kind of comic, is not super high. By the time you figure grading fees, anything that's worth more than cover tends to be kind of a $70, $80 book. But that is what's going on with Flash Rebirth #1, the first appearance of Godspeed. Still just kind of a minor key. I don't think Godspeed's really going to be involved in anything major, but I could be wrong. We'll have to see. Maybe they get some good stories and this will take off. But right now, this is a very affordable Flash villain key, although it's super modern and new, so don't know that it has any long-term value necessarily. Number 6 on the list is Daredevil #1, and this is another Comics Pro variant. Low print, hot cover. This one is interesting. So back then, it was going for, raw copies were going for about $40. So since, in the last 3 months, there have only been 3 sales of raw copies. $14, $50, and $150. During that same time period, there's been 2 9.8 sales of this book. $56, mind you, a slab 9.8 went for $56, while during the same period, a raw went for $150, and $100 for a 9.8. Currently, there are only 3 raw copies listed. 40, 119, and 225. Okay. People can ask whatever they want for books. But the guy who paid $150 for this raw clearly didn't do any research or look. There's not a lot of them out there. I get it. But, because like I said, there's only currently 3 listed. There's only been 3 sales. It's a fairly rare, hard to find book. But it's not that rare and hard to find. And do a little research. Be a little patient is all I'm going to say. I don't like to tell people how to buy and what to buy. But on these kind of books, be patient. These are not that hard to find. This gentleman paid $150, and just a couple weeks later, a 9.8 went for $56. Not sure what the rush was to pay that $150, but anyway, I won't belabor that point, but just, do your research before you pull the trigger. Don't just be like, oh, I gotta have it, pull the trigger. Look and see what things are going for. Try to do some research so that you aren't the guy that we look at on this list and go, why were they doing that? This is not the last book that we're going to have a situation like that. So we'll go from there. Next up at number 5 is Venom #7, the Secret Tongue variant. So this was one of those secret variants Marvel's been doing where people didn't know it was coming. The cat is running around. I have a feeling she may knock the camera over in a minute. We'll see. Oh, nope, she just laid down on the bed. So she might be done. So anyway, this was #7, Secret Tongue variant. And this is the first kind of cameo of Dylan Brock. Still part of the, heat related to Eddie Brock's son. Then raw copies were going for $10 to $25. 9.8s were going for 110 plus. Now with all the Absolute Carnage stuff going on, this book has kind of started to climb again a little bit. Recently, raws are back up to $30 plus, so actually even higher than it was when it hit the list originally. And are listed basically for $40 to $50, typically for a raw copy. 9.8s are running basically $100 to $130 with all the listings being listed over 150. Although there are several like auctions going on that are currently lower than that, so it might be best to like chase one of the auctions. I got Crazy Cat going on at the moment. She's been in, out, and she's laid down again. So we'll see. She hasn't knocked the camera over yet, so we're gonna keep going. So don't remember where I was at, but listings for 9.8s have been all over $150. But like I said, there's several auctions going on that are still lower than that, and like I said, the sales have been around 100 to 130 max. So probably looking for an auction on this one, or maybe a best offer. But book has been heating up a little bit, just with all this Absolute Carnage stuff going on. So that is number 5 on our list. Venom, number 7, the Secret Tongue variant. And number 4 on our list is Die, number 1, the Virgin variant. This is a low print, hard to find Virgin. I don't know exactly what the ratio is on this, but I know it's pretty rare. What did it say? And this is just really a hot indie series. It's really kind of taken off. This is a series I've been reading that I love. If you haven't got into it, I highly recommend it. It's just really good. Back then, this Virgin variant hit the list because it was going for $30 to $40. Now, raw copies of this are going for $100 to $115, or $100 to $150, excuse me, with all listings being $150 plus right now. 9.8 peaked in early May at around $500. Since then, they've kind of dropped back and have been more in the $350 to $450 range. However, there have been no sales of a 9.8 slab of this book since the end of June. Even though there's several listed on eBay, there's been no sales of a 9.8 listed since the end of June. Raw copies are still selling occasionally for that 1 to 150 range, like I said. The reason there have been no sales of 9.8 since June is because the ones that were currently listed on eBay right now were $1,000 plus, including one that was $1,300, $1,299. Again, this is just crazy asking prices, if you ask me. I get that this is a hot book, a hot series, but it's not going for anywhere near this. But they can ask what they want. Doesn't mean you have to pay it. And so far, buyers have been patient. They haven't been paying that crazy price. Stick to your guns on this one, I think. I don't think it's a $1,000 book. And that would be my only recommendation there is, yeah, the listings are asking $1,000, $1,200, which they're perfectly within their rights to do. Doesn't mean we have to pay it. And we haven't been. So that's good on the community on that one. But raw book copies can still snag for around $100. Again, you have to be a little bit patient, though. Next up at number 3 on the list is Umbrella Academy, Apocalypse Suite number 1, the special edition wraparound cover that, depending on where I looked at, basically, so here's the thing. 10 copies went to 1,000 stores, is my understanding, is how many of these are out there. So if your store didn't get one of these, your area might not have any copies of this. So this was a special edition, fairly limited run, back when this was released. And this hit the list because of all the show hype around Umbrella Academy. This is so a hard to find variant of the number 1 issue. Obviously, the first appearance of all these characters was in that Free Comic Book Day book that made the list last week. But this is the true number 1 of the series. Back then, raw copies of this book were hitting $500 plus. Now, raw copies are going more in the $375. Well, the only recent raw copy to sell went for $375, and that was back in July. Currently, they're listed for $630. Yeah. So currently, the only raw copy currently listed, is listed for $630. 9.8 on this one. So we said raw copies got to 500 plus. 9.8 peaked at $1,200. And we're consistently going for $850 back in March and April. Since then, now they're going for $350 to $450. It's come back considerably. The show has ended for now. I think there's going to be a second season. People have moved away from the show. So this is another one. If you're the guy that paid $1,200 for this, you're kicking yourself. And I don't want to pick on those people, but this is another example of that fear of missing out, of buying into the hype, of chasing the books at the wrong time. Patience is my main piece of advice on this one. $1,200 to $350 is a big difference if you're really wanting this book. So yeah, it's just a little bit of patience. Know your timing. These books, even low print modern books, are not like a golden age book with 3 on the census. It's not that hard to get them. It's not that hard to find them. So a little bit of patience goes a long ways on some of these, particularly when the show is coming out, when the trailer drops, when the announcement is made at D23 or San Diego Comic-Con. Those are the wrong time. Those are the times when the books hit the list, but those are the wrong times to be buying. Those are the right times to be selling. So that is number 3 on our list, Umbrella Academy Apocalypse Suite number 1, the special edition. I didn't go into listings there. Currently, people are still listing them for $700 plus. But like I said, the only recent sales was a raw was $375, and the only listing is $650. So again, another one where the listings are higher than what the prices are supporting at the moment. And number 2 on our list is Old Lady Harley number 5. And this was the end of a little mini-series, first Joker's son, kind of a low print book, and it kind of took off out the gate. There was lots of hype on it. It was going for $20. Don't know if this is ever going to be revisited, and as a result, this is now a cover to $10 book. Although they're still asking $10 to $20, it's not going for that. It's going for basically cover plus shipping. 9.8, literally the most recent 9.8 went for $30 plus shipping. So you can see that there's not a lot of value here. And there's one being for sale for $30 plus shipping on eBay that is just sitting there. So it's not sold. So, that is number 2 on the list, Old Lady Harley, number 5. And finally on our list is Umbrella Academy Apocalypse Suite, number 1. The regular cover this time, though. And this, again, was the show hype. This is the first issue that is after that Free Comic Book Day issue that hit the list last week. And back then, whereas that special edition was going for $500 plus, this was going for $100 plus. Now it is going for $10 to $25. I don't think the show got any worse. I think it's just people aren't thinking about it right now. So I say 10 to 25. It's actually 10 and 25 are the most recent sales of this, and those are the only 2 standalone sales that have occurred recently. Most of the rest have been either sets of this series or at least multiple copies of the book. Mostly sets, it seems like. Currently, the listing for individuals of just number 1 in that $30 to $40 range, or $100 plus. So there's still people that have them listed for $100 plus, but there's some listed for $30 to $40. And they're only selling for $10 to $25. 9.8s have been going for about $100 to $125. Although all of those are currently listed at $150 plus. So again, this week we had a lot of hot covers that have kind of fallen back. We had one that's continuing to go on and that die, but and we have a lot of unrealistic prices, I guess, this week on eBay of what people are asking. Preach a little bit of patience. Don't chase those books that hard. They're not that hard to find. So that's this week's list. I want to thank you guys for watching, as always, and we'll catch you next time.